Chapter 1. Peter's Breakthrough. Everybody knows that children grow up. Wendy knew this too, but she didn't think much about it until she met Peter Pan. Wendy lived with her mother and father, Mr. and Mrs. Darling, and her two brothers in a big house in London. Wendy was first. Then John was born, then Michael. Mrs. Darling was a pretty, romantic lady who loved her children. Mr. Darling loved his children too, but he was always busy making money. The Darlings wanted to have a nurse, but as they were not rich, they took the Newfoundland dog called Nana to take care of their children. Nana was a real treasure. She was up at any moment of the night if one of the children began to cry. She could always tell when any of them was ill, and if Mrs. Darling invited guests to the nursery, Nana could dress Michael and do John's and Wendy's hair very quickly. Nana had one night off in the week, and it was on these nights that Mrs. Darling took her place in the nursery. Sometimes, before it was time to go to bed, Wendy spoke about the Neverland, their secret magic island, where she had a wolf for a pet. John said there were a fantastic lagoon on the island with flamingos flying over it. "I live in a house made of leaves on the island," Wendy told her mother, "and Peter comes to visit me." Once Mrs. Darling asked about Peter. "Who is he, my dear?" "He's Peter Pan, you know, Mother," Wendy said. "He isn't grown up and he can fly. Sometimes he comes into the nursery and sits at the foot of my bed and plays his pipes." Once it was Nana's evening. Mrs. Darling bathed the children, sang a song, and put them to bed. It was very cozy in the bedroom, and she smiled and sat down by the fire to sew. Soon her head began to nod, and she fell asleep. While she slept, she had a dream. In her dream, the mysterious Neverland, the Neverland Wendy sometimes talked about, came too near. There was that strange boy. He too came to visit her. Then, as she went on dreaming, the window of the nursery suddenly opened, and a boy jumped on the floor. A bright light appeared in the room together with him. Mrs. Darling screamed and saw the boy, and she knew at once that he was Peter Pan. He was a lovely boy dressed in leaves, but looked ordinary. Mrs. Darling started and stared at him. And Peter Pan, to show how much he disliked grown-ups, made a horrid face at her. The poor lady was very upset.